long did you live in South Africa?
About a year and a half in total.
Were you working?
Nah.
Okay.
No, my wife was, but I wasn't allowed to work in the country. So I just trained. My wife comes from a boxing team. Yeah. So the uncle won a title at Madison Square Garden with Rocky Marciano back in the day. And he went to South Africa Academy of Boxing. So I just trained there for a year and a half. Loved it. Great fight on Saturday, really in a following night. I'm absolutely gutted. Devonta Tank Davis fights Sprint, and then Benitez fights someone that's just such a good card to watch.
Is that here?
This Saturday.
Here?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's good. It's got a 10 fight. He's got to go.
Devonta, he's good.
He is great.
Almost time to get you with the water gun. I've been out on this tour probably 150 times, but this is one of the most chill days I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah. Definitely in the top three.
Oh, crazy. It's so glassy too.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It really is. The thing is too, like, it'll also practice longer in the evening. It'll stay hot in here when the rest of the canyon starts to cool down. But the morning, it'll stay cooler when the rest of the canyon starts to get hot. But yeah, right at the end of our tour, there's a patch there that I always visit. The water is full glow right now. You're getting that, 30 to 35 feet of visibility right now, which is really,
What 10 meters deep?
this is, now where you're at, probably about 20 feet again. But a little to your right will be that 30-foot mark for sure. You'll be able to see the bottom at 30 feet. So beyond 35 feet, you'll definitely be able to see the bottom. That's kind of how you measure the depth. But because you have grassy conditions, the sun is now full and noon, you're getting a massive visibility right now. Like you said, no fixing high out here. Yesterday I saw those big ones about 3/4 of a mile from here on the Nevada side. So we'll see. This herd's kind of been lingering around a little bit. They have some lambs with them. I'll keep a sharp eye out. Now I'm at 30 feet deep. Yeah, it is. Oh, God.
So, on a tour, someone got one. You don't go down and get it, and the guy was like 100 feet deep.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate because you can actually see your phone, which makes it even more insulting. You're like, well, there it is, but I can't get it. That's why I warned you about having your ID in there. That happened to a gentleman on my tour a few weeks ago, and he couldn't get his flight out. He had to get a police report to show to the airlines and get a flight for the following day. Because his ID, his credit card, and his phone all went down the wrong way.
I tell you, my friend flew here this time last year. Come home from Fremont Street at 7 in the morning. No phone, no wallet, and no passport.
Oh, God.
You know how we got him home? Contacted the embassy, put him on a Greyhound bus to Los Angeles to UCLA. We walked to the Australian embassy and spent 3 nights in Los Angeles before we got a temporary passport. When he came home, he was pissed. He was like, I've lost everything, but I'll deal with it tomorrow morning. I'm like, when he woke up in a panic attack.
Oh, yeah. That's a bad feeling, especially how attached you are to that phone anymore.
Well, you know the worst part of it was, he had 2-factor authentication for the link to his phone. So he couldn't even access Google Mails to see any of the bookings or insurances that he had.
Everything's in that phone.
Because it's in the phone.
Yep.
And any site you log into wants to double verify everything, so it's got to come through your cell phone to say, okay, you can go on that site.
Yep.
The only way we could get into the Australian embassy was via Fox Greyhound bus. And I gave him my credit card so he could book hotels.
That's the trade-off where, sure, technology's helpful most of the time, but boy, in an instance like that, you can be severely hindered because everything is backlogged on that phone. Quiet. here. Right on the edge. Oh, yeah. See, Kenny? Oh, there's one right here, too. Look at this. There's a blue right here. That one is a classic pose. Oh, nice. Yeah, they're around this whole rock. There's one right in front of me, too. Look at this. Yeah.
There's 7 over here.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad? 7 and 3 bubbles.
Yep, there's more coming. There's 3 more over here. Nice. You guys have got a cool little show right now with these. You know, not super common to get to see these animals. These are a desert bighorn sheep. All they need is from the middle of your knuckle to the tip of your finger of a rock ledge to be able to climb. And they can handle up to an 80% grade. They have soft hooves that are able to conform to uneven surfaces. Just coming down for a drink. Nice. Excellent. It's probably the group of, there's 13 total in this group. I've been seeing them intermittently out here. There's more coming this way toward us. These are all females and young of the year. I haven't seen a ram yet. Females will have a half moon curl to their horns. The young of the year will have a spike horn. And the big rams will have a full curled horn that'll hook back toward their eyes. Sweet. Oh, here's a young male right here. Wow, he's getting in a classic pose. Oh yeah, check out this male right here. Look at that. Wait till he comes up on top of this rock. He's looking right at you. Youngster.
Definitely male.
Confirmed.
I think I was just teabagged.
I didn't sign a waiver for this shit. Yeah, so that's a young male. You can see that his horns are getting a lot more of a curl. Ultimately, they're going to become, the diameter will be 3 times that of a female. They get absolutely colossal horns. Her horns itself can weigh upwards of 30 pounds on a male. With the skull, it'll be between 60 and 70 pounds. It always baffles me when I see people just paddle by them, because it's like, what are you out here for? If this isn't, you know, if this isn't it. I mean, look at that classic bighorn sheep pose right there. Wow. Absolute killer. Nice, I'm really glad you guys got to see that. Wow, there's a youngster up there. Look at him showing off. Yeah, they're curious. They're certainly are curious. Luckily, they tend to be sweethearts. I ran into one big ram once at that house foundation, that river gauger.
Yeah.
He was a jerk. He flexed on me real quick. He was like, I will knock you off this ridge. And I'm like, you're all good.
What? Do they get hunted these things?
They do. Not out here in Black Canyon, but you can apply to permits to hunt
Oh,
these
no, I'm
animals.
saying like naturally, like a predator city.
Yeah, mountain lions.
Natural.
And when they're lambs, golden eagles. So here's what will happen to give you kind of a play-by-play. A lamb would be on the summit of this mountain, right? Golden eagle would be a mile or two in the sky. He'd spot the animal. He would come down in what's called a stoop, where they curl their wings close to their body.
Yeah.
A golden eagle is going to reach speeds of about 150 miles per hour. That's their max velocity. They would strike the lamb off the cliff, where it would then fall to its death and it can go flame to kill. So they don't like big birds, I know. They get nervous with big birds. Even if it's turkey vultures, bald eagles, they will square up with an eagle because they are very flighty to a big bird overhead. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. We're about a half a mile out from that little cove. We're going to shade out for a minute to drink some cold water. And then that'll put us only a mile out from that house foundation where we're going to swim. That'll be our final stop of us getting out of the boat, taking some pictures. And then from the house foundation, we're only a mile away from Willow Beach. So from this point, we're roughly 2.5 miles out.
all the times I've been here, I've never seen them.
You've never what?
Seen the sheep.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like every time people talk about them, they're like, oh yeah, they usually gather here, they usually gather here.
You have that rental car, right?
Yeah.
From where you parked that car, where we scooped you up this morning, you're 4 minutes away from a park called Hemingway Park.
Yeah, I've gone to Hemingway Park.
Yeah, go there now. There's like, yesterday it was 15 rams and 18 females there.
Oh, really?
Big rams. They're all laying in the grass in the shade of those big cottonwood trees.
Nice.
And you can get 15 feet away. You can get some epic shots of them with Lake Mead in the backdrop. It is sick. So your timing may have been just a little off in the past because they're just starting to regroup now as herds. When the females have lambs, they're very separated. But right now they're rallying back up, and it's funny, it's like a school dance because all the males will be on one side of the field and the females will be on the other. Right now the males are still friends, but that's going to come to an end here in the next 3 weeks. They'll start fighting right there in Hemingway, which is crazy because there's like kids playing on the playground and then there's rams like smashing heads. Nice canyon wren.
Yeah.
Oh, there's someone in there.
Yeah. Looks like they're tubing. This is what I remember from Arizona. You get that heat, the wind that feels like a hairdryer.
Yep. Yeah, you're in an oven. Like a tandoori grill up in here. Let's float for 1 minute. I just want to let them catch up in the back. I have a little history right here I want to share. So I know this will be kind of reiterating for you since you've been out here before, but I told you guys at the beginning of the day that you're going to see a river gauging station that's intact. We saw that haggard one first thing this morning with all those cormorants perched on it. This one is intact. It's been preserved by the Park Service out here. So this is pretty interesting. What we're looking at is this gentleman's daily commute to work backwards. This is his office right here. It has a pipe under this river gauging station with a meter stick in that pipe. Little door chambers on that pipe will open up to allow him to climb down a ladder and get an accurate reading of what the water depth was at that time. He was staged out here from 1920 to 1935. He would make this trip twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. So as you see right here on the left, directly over the center of the river, is the cable cart that he would use to pull himself hand over hand from the Arizona side to his office here in the Nevada side. Now, along that wall, you can see all those kayaks starting to build up there. Above those kayaks, by about 60 feet, is a catwalk. It's 2x12 pieces of wood and rebar pounded into the rock wall. His house foundation is approximately 1.2 miles from here on the Arizona side. So he would wake up at that foundation, hike a mile, pull himself to a hand-over-hand cable cart onto the catwalk, hike that catwalk all the way over to here, pull himself on the second cable cart right to his office. So ultimately, we're going to be able to stop at that house foundation, take a look back, and really it'll put in perspective of what this guy was doing for work for 15 years out here.
Living the dream.
Yeah, I mean, he played a very important part out here. Obviously, they decided not to build the dam in this location, even though this looks like a primo spot for a dam. It's the most narrow part of the river. It's the deepest here. It's 70 feet deep, so please don't slip in. So this looks like a really good spot for a dam. However, in his research, he discovered that the Emerald Cove is here, where all those boats are there, and that the Emerald Cove is a massive fault line that is eroding and expanding on its own. And it's also too risky in any kind of seismic event. Water could squeak its way around that dam and cause a failure, which would be catastrophic from any lower basin cities and towns along its travels if that dam was to break loose. So we're going to stop at a little cove up here on the right. We'll be able to get a good look at this fault line going all the way up. And you'll have a better understanding of why they chose not to build it in this location. So his research made it sound like it was all for naught, but if nonetheless it was to help them decide where not to place the dam.
Alright guys, let's shade out for a minute, drink some water. From this point out, we got 10 down and 2 to go. So good job. Should be cake from here. If I paddle over to you, can you grab me a water on
Yep.
this board? Just stay right where you're at. Yes, the blue one. Feel free to take one for yourself too. Does anyone else want ice water? Yeah. Here, grab my paddle gently and I'll pull you over. Little party barge. This way we don't reach too far.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, bro. I really appreciate it. Does she need one?
Yeah.
All right, I'll bring one over to you. Here, give me a duplicate and I'll bring one over. Nice. And of course,
you.
one for the workhorse. Thanks, bro. Oh, here. Excellent. Yeah. All right.
That shade is welcome.
That's nice, isn't it? Yeah. All right. That's nice.